Welcome to the Explainer. This is where we break down big ideas by going straight to the sources behind them.
So, today we are tackling a huge question, one that gets to the very heart of American identity. Was the United States founded to be a Christian nation? We're going to dig into this using Andrew Seidel's book, The Founding Myth, to really look at the evidence. It's a powerful idea for sure, but is it actually true? Let's find out.
Yeah, you hear things like this all the time, right? This quote really sums up a core belief for a lot of people, that America was built on a specific religious foundation, and that foundation is being chipped away. But to really get a handle on this, we've got to separate the powerful feelings from the historical facts.
Okay, so let's start with the founders themselves. We all have this popular image of them in our heads, but how much of that is real, and how much is just a really good story?
I mean, come on, you've seen this picture, right? It is absolutely iconic. It's been on stamps, it's in stained glass in the Capitol building. Ronald Reagan even called it the most sublime picture in American history. It's this powerful symbol of America turning to God for help.
But here's the thing. When you actually look at the historical record, and Seidel pulls this from Washington's own letters and from his biographers, that story is, well, just a story. It was invented by an early biographer who, let's just say, was more interested in selling books than telling the exact truth. The real George Washington almost never took communion, he didn't have a priest with him when he died, and his own bishop admitted he couldn't think of a single thing that proved Washington was a Christian in the traditional sense.
And it wasn't just Washington. Take a look at Thomas Jefferson. The man literally took a razor blade to the New Testament and physically cut out every part he didn't agree with, all the miracles, the resurrection, you name it. He wanted to keep what he saw as the moral philosophy of Jesus, which he called diamonds, and get rid of all the supernatural stuff which he called dunghills. This shows a mind shaped by the Enlightenment, by reason, not by divine revelation.
All right, so if the founders' personal beliefs are way more complicated than the legends, what about our laws? Everybody says they're based on the Ten Commandments, but are they? Let's put that to the test.
Let's just put them side by side. It's pretty stark. The first commandment says, "You shall have no other gods before me." It's a direct order. But the First Amendment says Congress can't make any law respecting an establishment of religion. So one demands loyalty to one God, and the other says the government can't demand any religious loyalty at all. You can't really get more opposed than that.
And the differences just get deeper from there. Look at this. On one side, you have biblical law where kids can be punished for what their parents did. American law? Absolutely not. Guilt is personal. You've got biblical laws that treat slavery as a given, as property. The 13th Amendment? It abolishes slavery. Worshipping the wrong God is a death penalty offense in the Bible. In the U.S. Constitution, it's a right you're guaranteed to have. These aren't just minor differences, they're two completely different frameworks for justice.
And you don't even have to guess what the founders thought. They told us. This quote is from a treaty, the Treaty of Tripoli, that was negotiated under President Washington, signed by President John Adams, and passed by the Senate, unanimously. It's about as clear a statement as you can possibly get about the secular nature of the American government. So, if these are all myths and the history says something else, where did these ideas come from? And maybe more importantly, why do they still matter so much today?
This timeline is really eye-opening. You see, the phrases we think of as being there from the beginning, like under God in the pledge, or in God we trust on our money, they're not from the 1700s. They were added way later. We're talking the 1950s, right in the middle of the Cold War, mostly to draw a sharp line between the U.S. and what was called godless communism.
And that brings us to a really key concept, a secular government. Now, a lot of people hear that word and think it means anti-religion, but that's not it at all. A secular government is neutral on religion. It doesn't help it, and it doesn't hurt it. The whole point is to create a country where people of all faiths and people of no faith can live freely without the government picking sides.
So why does getting this history right actually matter? Well, because believing the myth has real-world consequences. When you argue that the country belongs to one specific religion, you start creating an in-group and an out-group. You start to justify using government power to enforce one group's morality on everybody else. And in the end, that actually erodes the religious freedom that the founders were trying to protect in the first place.
Which leaves us with a final thought to chew on. According to Seidel's analysis, maybe that wall of separation between church and state isn't there to keep religion out. Maybe it's actually the very thing that protects faith, by making sure that no single religion can ever use the power of the government to silence the others. Maybe it's the best guarantee of liberty we have.